Hi everybody, hi every spirit, it's Cancer season. The sun is 14 degrees Cancer, aka cardinal water, so it's time to talk about this Cancer season. So remember that for the past 14 days, the sun has already been in Cancer. For the first 3 days, it was still transiting from Gemini, so for the last 11 days, the sun was totally in Cancer, bringing to us energies of cardinal water, creating new feelings, new emotions, and because Cancer is ruled by the moon, and Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. This might also mean that we can see in ourselves, in others, and in the world, and others can see in themselves, in us, and in the world new feelings, new emotions, new attractions, new responses, new reactions, and new ways to obtain, express, or act on your wisdom, your knowledge, and your personal testimonies. And you can derive new wisdom or you can act in new ways about wisdom and knowledge that you already had. Alright, so that's the basis of Sun in Cancer. And before we continue, leave a like and subscribe to the channel, it's really important, and you can get personal consultations and personal readings with me, and you can contact me in the comments down below, using the link in the description down below, using the Instagram in the description down below, and you can check all my content using the links and the link tree as well. So Sun in Cancer in general, like I told you, it's creating new emotions and new feelings, but the sun is acting it out, or you wanting to act, or somebody around you is expecting and wants you to act on these new emotions and on those new feelings. And more important than that is what it signs, what it means. Cancer is the start of summer. Cardinal water. Cardinal signs all represent the start of a new season. Aries, cardinal fire, is the start of spring. Then Cancer, cardinal water, start of summer. Libra, cardinal air, is the start of winter, and Capricorn of fall. Sorry, and then Capricorn, cardinal earth, is the start of winter. So the start of summer, the start of here in the northern hemisphere, on the hemisphere, damn, yeah, on the northern hemisphere, where the sun spends the most time in the sky, when there is more heat, when there is more interaction, people go outside, you can see others more often, you can see the world more often, there is more time for you to see the world, the animals are out and about, trees are out and about, flowers are out and about, because spring is the start of all that, and summer is the hike, the pike, the accumulation of all that. So that means that also everybody else's, in general, emotions and feelings are going to be out there. They're going to be heightened internally, or they're going to be heightened in communication, in expression. Even though Cancer is a water sign, because now the sun is there, and because it's the start of summer, it can be the most expressive water sign. The thing is, where it's expressive, it's more in places where there is more comfort, more familiarity, or when the Cancer person or people around them feel more injustice. But it's not like Libra. Libra can be social warriors, right? Aries are like personal warriors, and Capricorns, they are warriors about their limits, their boundaries, and their safety. Cancer is more about, it's a mix of Libra and Aries, which is personal and social warriors, but in a more righteous way, in a more protecting emotions, protecting feelings, but not just from them, but not from everybody else. That's where Libra goes too far and Aries is too personal. Cancer is kind of in the middle. You're going to protect the emotions and feelings of yourself, of your surroundings, and people that you care about, or people that people around you care about. But then it depends on how much you reach and how much you care, right? You might be protecting a friend of a friend, or you might not give a fuck because it depends on your other alignments if you have Cancer Sun, right? But that's the energy of Cancer, is creating new ways, especially Sun in Cancer, creating new ways to express new emotions and feelings, creating new ways to express and act upon wisdom and knowledge. And very, very important, a common trait with Cancer and Sagittarius is the ability to express and to be seen from a perspective that is heavily related with your personal testimonies. And personal testimonies is not just what you go through, but also the wisdom and knowledge, the conclusions that you make or that others create from your personal testimonies. Because two different people, two different entities can go through the same way, they can go through the same path, but then derive different conclusions, derive different wisdom and knowledge. One can get traumatized, the other can get inspired, one can become the villain, the other can become the hero, and they might go through exactly the same circumstance but come out in different ways. That's what it means, personal testimony. It's not just you going through something, it's how that transformed you, or how did you transform yourself through that path. So with Sun in Cancer, we are creating new personal testimonies, new ways to see our personal testimonies, or new ways to express what we already concluded before. Because maybe you didn't have so much confidence, you didn't have the knowledge and the wisdom, or just you had no intention, that it was not on your mind to express and see yourself in that way, but now it is, because it's creating new attention and new ways to see your emotions and feelings, your wisdom and knowledge, and all that together is the personal testimony. You go through a situation, you feel a certain way, and then because of things that you remember, some advice people told you, things you learned from different media, you come to a conclusion, to a wisdom, to a knowledge, or you compare that to other situations. You know, that's what personal testimonies really is. And why am I talking about this so much? Because that's really important, right? We are individuals. And that individuality mostly comes from personal testimonies. Like I said, you can go through the same situation and derive your own conclusion. That's a very strong materialization of your individuality, of your uniqueness. And Sun in Cancer can now bring to your awareness and to others' awarenesses that same power. Then, if you are a confident spirit, you're going to feel empowered. Even if you are not very experienced, even you still think that you're not very good with words, you're still gonna have some more spark, have some more belief in yourself. If you are somebody that is limited by themselves or by their environment, family, friends, workplace, or whatever, you might feel frustrated because, spiritually speaking, subconsciously, there is that want, but you might feel blocked. You might have certain traumas that block you. So you might become more moody, more aggressive, more grumpy because you want to express that to yourself internally or to others, those new emotions, new feelings, new wisdom, new knowledge, new perspectives, or literally new personal testimonies, and you just might feel like you can't. And another aspect of Sun in Cancer, I just remembered by talking about this, is that it can be internal expressions. You might be creating new ways to talk with yourself about feelings and emotions, about wisdom and knowledge, about places of comfort and places where you can go mentally, emotionally, and physically to regenerate, rest, and relax and take care of yourself. Also, Sun in Cancer, it's new, creating new visions, creating new wants, or creating new places and spaces for you to take care of yourself. So if you are in an environment that has too much responsibility, it's too dry, it's too much about money and status, you might create a little wormhole, a little cave, a little grotto for you to go in. This can be mental or physical. It can go from all places. And then you go into that place to relax, to rest, not just to separate like Aquarius, and not just to run away like Pisces, but to really rest. So you then can come back to that environment that you're running away from, quote unquote, refreshed and more powerful, or just with more patience and more space. You know what I'm saying? And I took a tarot card for also, before we continue, Sun in Cancer can also mean that you're creating new ways to see your internal realm, or you're just seeing new things, or things that you were not very aware of. Now you are a bit more aware of your emotions and feelings. Maybe you can even start to have more dreams and remember your dreams better. Maybe you can start to look out for astrologers like me. Maybe people around you that didn't believe in astrology or spirituality, now they start to actually pay some attention to that, start to develop a little bit more interest because Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. So Sun in Cancer is the best alignment for people that are very dry and logical to take a huge leap of faith or take a huge different approach because it's that exaltation. And that can be actually bad because if you don't have the basis if you don't have some experience and then you go into astrology, you go into spirituality, you can hear certain things that are crazy. You can interact with people that are crazy or seem crazy. You can go into certain areas of wisdom and knowledge that just make you now feel scared or paranoid or, oh, I was right, I should never even try to believe astrology or whatever. So if you are around somebody, or maybe it's you, but I don't know, just getting into astrology and spirituality, go with calmness and apply logicality. That's what I do in the channel here. I bring reality back to spirituality because reality was built and created from us as spirits, as creators. And we have to balance them because we created reality, we created logic, laws, systems, and science for a reason, correct? So we can't discard that. And the thing is, people that are very logical and rejected spirituality and alternative forms of wisdom and knowledge, now they can be even more like that because they can feel and they can see that themselves or others are looking for more answers, more wisdom, more spirituality, and that can make them mad because always everybody's so spiritual now. Everybody's into yoga, crystals and gems. Everybody's going to ayahuasca trips, or maybe they're not seeing that right now in their surroundings, but they remember, oh, didn't John went on an ayahuasca trip? Or didn't Rose over there is now a tarot reader? Or she goes to the witch house or whatever. And those things might come back to you or appear into your awareness or into other people's awareness. And if that person or yourself is too dry and too logical, it can start create some curiosity or some hate towards the practice of wisdom and knowledge through spiritual means. And now, yes, I took a tarot card for these 30 days of Cancer season, Sun in Cardinal Water, Sun going through the fourth house, because not Sun going through Cancer, the constellation, because it already moved, is the Sun going into the fourth house, which is a division of space, which is unique. That's why back in the day people divided the sky in 12, because they realized there is a difference on those spaces. They are different spaces, like the beach is different from the mountain, and it's like the bedroom is different from the bathroom. You know what I'm saying? So, the tarot card for this Cancer season 2026 is the Three of Pentacles. And the Three of Pentacles usually means creating new awareness or joining small awarenesses into a bigger conclusion about reality, structure, limits, boundaries, financial systems, security systems, networking and association in a more status-based way, in a more respectable way, in a more cautious way. It's all about reality itself, understanding reality in a scientific term or in a spiritual term. And it's actually kind of a balancing point because Cancer is a water sign, and the balancing water in the balancing element to water is Earth. The opposition to Cancer is Capricorn, cardinal Earth. The opposition to Scorpio, fixed water, is Taurus, fixed Earth. And the opposition to Pisces, mutable water, is Virgo, mutable Earth. So the balance point of water is Earth, while the totally opposite of water is air. But that's for another video. So this means that you and everybody else can realize, they can see new ways to apply into reality spirituality, wisdom, knowledge, feelings, and emotions. Also, people are now realizing how their new feelings and emotions, or they're realizing in a new way how their feelings and emotions, their attractions and reactions are changing their perspective, their wants, and their actions about reality or in areas of finance, security, safety, status, networks, and relationships in general. Or people are now gaining more wisdom and more confidence in their wisdom and knowledge, and are seeing new ways to apply that or communicate that in more realistic terms, or in areas, in audiences, in groups of people that were or are more logical and more dry. And it doesn't mean you're gonna be now changing their minds and convincing them otherwise. It just means that you're more confident, and it's upon your responsibility to express yourself, to put out there your wisdom and your knowledge. Nobody else will do that. That's such an Aquarius thing. But also, Cancer misunderstands Aquarius. It's an inconjunction. But doesn't mean they don't relate. They do. They do relate. They just have different priorities. And especially Jupiter being exalted in Cancer and Cancer being a cardinal sign, it's all about initiating that wisdom and knowledge. So Aquarius and Cancer, they share that trait, which is it's upon their own responsibility more than other signs to express or apply their wisdom and knowledge, their own systems of making sense out of reality and themselves and their relationships and etc. So the Three of Pentacles is us realizing also how our emotions and feelings, our wisdom and knowledge, our personal testimonies, that they affect reality, which is a common conception in spirituality, that we affect reality. And if you are a spiritualist like me, you already know that. Because we created reality, so if we created reality, we affect it. Why you can just think and things change? Because reality is an accumulation. And so if reality is an accumulation, in order for you to change reality, you need to accumulate as well. But that's also for another video. So I really like this Three of Pentacles because first it's bringing balance, and then it's also more calm, more realistic. It makes more sense. It's not just everybody's totally focused on their emotions and feelings, on their moods, on their own wisdom, on their own knowledge, on their own personal testimonies. This means that in general, people are looking for, or they're creating processes, they're creating this new perspective where they are looking for a connection, a purpose, a work, a not just I feel this way or I have this wisdom. It's like I feel this way, I have this personal knowledge, so now I want to apply it. I want to create a system. I want to make this real. I want to make this useful or a product. Okay, you can use it for something, or you can sell it, or you can help somebody with it, or yourself. Just people are looking for a real place or to create a real place through their wisdom and knowledge, through their new perspectives about wisdom, knowledge, emotions, and feelings. And I really like that. Let me know what you think in the comments down below about this Cancer season and about the Three of Pentacles for Sun in Cancer, Cardinal Water 2026. And now, let's see how the Sun is aligning with the rest of the natal chart. And keep in mind, the Sun is 14 degrees now, so there was a bit of different alignments. For an example, Jupiter is now in Aries, and I don't think it started Cancer season in Aries. Maybe it did, because it's 1 degree right now. Actually, I could go back in time right now, but I don't want to, because if you're watching this video right now, what you really want to know is going forwards. But keep in mind that some things change. Not much has changed, because in 14 days, only the moon really changes all that much. So because of that, I don't think much have changed, but keep that in mind. Alright, and if you want me to do an update, aka maybe you felt a certain way, maybe certain things happened in your life in these last 14 days, and you want to understand why, you want to go deeper into that, contact me, we go back in time, and we talk about it. You know what I'm saying? I really like to do that, actually. So, we have Sun in Cancer, 14 degrees at the moment, and we have Mercury retrograde also in Cancer. So, first and foremost, Mercury without being retrograde means that our visions, our actions, and our wants are close together with our minds, our body language, and what and how we think, communicate, analyze, and socialize. Now Mercury is in retrograde, so that means that our minds, our communications, our relationships are going back in time, or past things are coming back to us. So even our body language is affected by that. But not only that, Mercury is in Cancer, and Mercury doesn't like to be in Cancer. Every time somebody says something like that, like Sun doesn't like to be here, or the moon doesn't like to be there. No, it's we in general don't like when Sun is in that place, where the moon is in that place, okay? Because they are their own entities, they have preferences, but what is more important is our preferences, because right? You're experiencing through your own parameters. So we don't really like when Mercury is in Cancer, which is positive in general, but we don't really like because it slows down our mind. Our mind becomes a bit less logical. There is more doubt because it becomes more emotional, more spiritual, and more internal instead of being more logical, instead of being sharper and more correct. It can become a bit more loose, it can be a bit more doubtful, and we can lose the point of our communications and thought processes because you or people you communicating and relating with might get lost in emotions and feelings. But the sun now is bringing a bit more clarity, it's bringing a bit more light and shine to those areas, so it's easier now to communicate your wants, it's easier to communicate your actions, and it's easier to communicate the reason and meaning behind your actions, visions, and expressions. But remember, you can still feel doubtful or slow or perturbed, or people around you can feel like this because Mercury being in Cancer and retrograde. Also, things might come back into your life. You might go back into certain cycles, and things can go back into your mind, and they will go back into your mind. It doesn't mean you'll pay a lot of attention to it, doesn't mean things will go back into your life literally, but they'll go back into your mind for sure. And then from there, from a subconscious or conscious perspective, they'll go back into your life literally. But right now, you can also bring more clarity and create new actions, new expressions, and new senses of ego, uniqueness, and individuality to past relationships or past ways to think, communicate, and analyze yours and others, because Mercury always has a mutable tendency because it rules Gemini and Virgo, which are both mutable signs. So you can bring all that back into a new perspective because Sun in Cancer, cardinal water, new perspective about how you were communicating, relating, thinking, and analyzing and socializing about your own and others, new and unique emotions, feelings, wisdom, knowledge, and personal testimonies. Then we have Venus in Leo, 26 degrees, almost in the cusp, almost going into Virgo, but right now it's fatal attracting the Sun in Cancer. So that means that everybody is bringing new attention, new action, new expression, and new senses of uniqueness and individuality that come from new emotions and feelings, new wisdom and knowledge, new reasoning, new purpose, and new personal testimonies into relationships, into exchanges, into pleasure that is more related with attention, entertainment, uniqueness, individuality, expression, and creativity in a more fixed, consistent, or stubborn way, or in a more shameful, on a more negative side, in a more shameful or anti prideful way. You know what I'm saying? Because Leo has those two sides. You can be very proud of yourself, you can be very confident and you have this light, or you can be very negative, you can be very anti ego, you can be very anti bright in your own expression or how you see the world. So, with Venus in Leo in general, it's easier to relate your fixed attention, where you pay and receive attention from. It's easier to communicate and relate in a fixed way and in a consistent or stubborn way your uniqueness, your individuality, your confidence, and your pride. But also, you can feel extremely negative in a fixed and consistent way. You can feel extremely depressed and extremely non confident in relationships, general exchanges, and pleasure. But now you have the opportunity, everybody does, to bring new actions and new visions to see yourself in those relationships that are based on new emotions, new feelings, new wisdom, new knowledge, new purpose, new meanings, and new personal testimonies. So you can refresh whatever is going on in your Venus life, relationships, exchange, pleasure, you know what I'm saying? That is related to your confidence, to your fixed wisdom, or fixed creativity, and fixed sense of charisma and spirituality in general. After that, we have Mars in Gemini, also fatal attracting the Sun in Cancer. So that means that we are bringing new visions and new actions that come from new emotions and feelings, new wisdom and new knowledge into areas where our passion, our extreme love, our motivation, and our aggressiveness is being communicated, thought, or acted on in more cold, detached, surface level, and mutable ways, but also with more reach, but also with more doubt, more gullibility, more mutability, and more scatteredness. So we can bring new purposes, or others through their expressions can bring new purposes, new wisdom, and new knowledge into those areas, or we can bring more passion and more aggressiveness through communication or through association into areas where they don't really need to be in because of the big range and the fact that Gemini can be scattered. So this can be good if you bring a new purpose, a new wisdom, and a new knowledge through actions and expressions into areas of passion and motivation, or into your desires, or into your internal energy, you know what I'm saying? Or you can bring too much communication, aggressive communication, or you can bring too surface level communication or ideas where it should be a bit more deeper or a bit more developed or a bit more important. And that can create new expressions of moodiness, resent, or separation in general if others don't see and feel you, or you don't see and feel others as caring enough. And you might be, but you might not be able to communicate that, or they might not be able to see that in that way. But in the end of the day, even if there is like a hike of chaos and antagonizing, because Mars is fatal attracting the Sun, if there is enough care and enough communication, the bridges will meet. But just keep in mind that you can bring too much passion through communication, through thoughts and ideas, to areas where it doesn't need to be like that. It needs to be a bit more careful and a bit more emotional and a bit more nuanced. Or you can bring too many emotions and new feelings and new thoughts based on spirituality to areas where creativity, art, and motivation are a bit more logical, a bit more realistic, and less deep, less spiritual. But in the end of the day, I think there is a brighter perspective, which is a balance point, right? It's a fatal attraction. They are neighbors. They know well each other, or they know some things about each other at least. So you can bring new ideas, new spiritual concepts with passion, with love, with motivation to a broader audience in an intellectual way. Because even though Mars doesn't really like to be in Gemini, because it's too much fire, too much energy for something that usually is a bit more cold and a bit more calculated, the Sun in Cancer will bring that calmness, will bring that spiritual and subconscious connection. So even if you're too passionate, too aggressive, there is an underlying connection that then can be translated into words. Then we have Sun in Cancer, fatal attracting Jupiter in Leo. And this is interesting because Jupiter rules Cancer, and it was in Cancer for 2 years, I think. And now it's going 1 degree Leo. So it's still coming out of Cancer. So it's still sharing that energy, but it's transiting into something. And now with Sun in Cancer, we can see in new ways all the expansion, all the travels, all the wisdom, the knowledge, and the purposes that we or others expanded upon, created upon, came upon. And now Jupiter is going into Leo, and it's fixating that more. It's bringing more consistency, more attention, more light, more creativity, more spirituality in an external way into those areas. So now we can see in a new emotional way, or in a new spiritual way, or in a new wise or knowledgeable way, how we can start that process, because it's not there yet. It's starting. Jupiter is going into Leo. It's not there yet. So we can see how we were doing it and how it's now going into that new space where it's going to be more fixed, more consistent, or more stubborn, and more connected to our own sense of value, self-confidence, our own sense of being able to entertain, to receive attention, and our own value as a spirit and as an individual. And with Jupiter in Leo, that will be expanded upon. You'll create new ways, new wisdom and knowledge about that, or you'll be loose in your mind. You will be not having a point until you have a point so you can build something around that. And with Sun in Cancer right now, it's a lot of new potential abilities, a lot of new potential wisdom and knowledge. You know what I'm saying? So just believe in yourself, keep expressing yourself, and you will go travel here, travel there. You're going to expand left, right, diagonally, 45 degrees, 20 degrees. And then, if you trust yourself, if you believe in yourself and in all possibilities, with Sun in Cancer, you will see that new wise way to go about that, and you will fix on that, and you will grow that from that specific location. Then we have Sun in Cancer squaring Saturn in Aries. And Saturn has been going through some complicated spaces since it left Aquarius. It's not bad for Saturn, it's not bad for us, it's just harder to understand because Saturn rules Capricorn and Aquarius. So it was there in Capricorn, it went into Aquarius, then now it went into Pisces, and now it's in Aries. 14 degrees Aries actually, it's moving quite fast. So the Sun is now squaring it. So we are learning how to see, act, and express in more emotional, spiritual, internal, and wise ways. New systems, new limits, new boundaries, new organizations, new governments, new ways to go about reality, new ways to be a part of reality that are based upon new feelings, new visions, new expressions, new passions, new motivation, new aggressiveness, and new spiritual concepts. So reality itself is changing. What we think being real means, what we think being successful means, what we think being safe means, what we think status means, all of that is changing. And now we are learning how to see, act, and express about those changes systematic, and how we personal interact with those systems, governments for an example. We are learning how to see, act, and express upon that in a more emotional and personal, while also being more wise and understanding how it's expanding and growing into the future. That's really cool, but it can create some tension. You might feel like those new structures or the new way those structures are working is not catering to your personal needs, to your personal feelings. You might feel like you can't fit into those systems, into those associations, because you get moody, you get aggressive, or you're still unstable, you still don't know, or people around you still are creating how to enter into those new systems or how to be a part in a more efficient way. Because one thing is to be a part, be there. Another way is to profit from that. It's to be efficiently in those spaces, right? So you might be becoming, or people around you might be moody, you might be too private and trying to hide yourself, or you might feel like those platforms, those systems, that networking, that association, for example, the way you do that is too naive, too expressive, too out there. But this is an extremely profitable alignment because it's bringing spirituality and personality into systems and real structures that also want to be personal and spiritual. But now we're seeing it in a more internal way, in a more deep way, in a more expanded way, in a more wise and knowledgeable way, in a more developed way. You know what I'm saying? After that, you have Uranus in Gemini, fatal attracting Sun in Cancer. So we are bringing new spiritual, wise, and personal actions and expressions that are a bit more emotional and a bit more careful into areas where change, rebelliousness, and opposition is being communicated, associated, and acted upon in a more mutable, gullible, logical, cold, or surface level way. Then we have Neptune in Aries, squaring Sun in Cancer. So you are learning how to see grand delusion, grand powers, generational patterns, generational curses, and generational gifts that are coming to us in a new awareness through aggression, passion, motivation, love, or desires. So we're learning how to see that in a more emotional, expanded, wise, and purposeful way. And last but not least, we have Pluto in Aquarius, in conjuncting Sun in Cancer. So Pluto in Aquarius is the whole world transforming, the whole world, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, socially as well, transforming, whether you like it or not, into a place where structure, organizations, and network are becoming more real, more solid, but also more geared to personal freedom, personal expression, and collective, communal connection, power, and expression. But that's a process. We're coming from Pluto in Capricorn, a lot of crazy shit behind closed doors related with power and control, related to the exaltation of Capricorn. We're doing weird sexual stuff in positions and places of power. We're moving out of that into a place now that is getting exposed. Because Aquarius is the external side of Saturn. And consequently, it's right after the internal and more muddy, murky side of Saturn. So once we go through the dark side of Saturn, we go straight into the clear side of Saturn. So those things are being expressed on a worldwide level. People are understanding that power and control was murky, was manipulative, was gatekeeping. And now the whole spirituality, all of us together as spirits, we are transforming into recognizing, wanting, and needing power and control to become more free, more communal. But Pluto is in retrograde. So we are considering what has been happening since Pluto went into Aquarius and when Pluto was in Capricorn. So past things about system, about power, about control, about trauma, and about transformation are coming into our minds. So we can catch up, we can bring updated present versions to past events, or we can be handicapped, we can feel a bit panicked by how the past transformation, abuses, power and control issues came into our lives. Also, the world is transforming, whether you like it or not. So you ride the wave, you get the update, you go through the shift, or you go under the wave, and then you have to catch up. So now you or people around you are going through memories, feelings, and emotions, and this is very subconscious. Pluto is very subconscious about past moments where the world transformed and you went with the wave or you went under the wave. You got some power or you got powered on. You know what I'm saying? And now with Sun in Cancer, we are creating new visions, actions, and expressions, new senses of uniqueness, individuality, and ego about all those processes that I just said. And where is the misconception, the inconjunction coming from? It's because now we're taking a more personal approach, a more wisdom wise, spiritual, heart, emotional approach to a process that since Pluto was in Capricorn and now went into Aquarius, that process is more social, more logical, more cold, more dry, more about rules, legislations, governments, body governments, different entities, companies, and organizations. And now we're creating new personal feelings about that, which might not have no business doing with us. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, it does. Because you were aware of it and you felt something about it. That's where the misinterpreting comes from. But at the same time, where there is some misunderstanding, there is some understanding that can be made. What you can realize is new limits and boundaries, so you don't feel so much about something, and you can realize that that care, that new expression, that those new thoughts and ideas, those new actions that bring with itself, or they came from new wisdom and knowledge, new feelings and emotions, new purpose, new meanings, and new personal testimonies or new way to look about those, they can change the world. They change the world. And now you can realize the magnitude because Jupiter was in Cancer. Saturn is in Aries. Jupiter is going into Leo right now. Uranus is in Gemini. Neptune is in Aries. So personal power, more now than ever, is changing the world on a bigger magnitude and on a faster scale. And also after because the misunderstandings will happen. But after that happens, you can come to terms with yourself and the world, and you can realize how personally, on an emotional and spiritual way, you can adapt yourself to this new world that it's being transformed right now. That was a hell of a video, guys. I really had fun and enjoyed doing this. Hope you enjoyed as well. Hope you feel better and feel more clarified about Sun in Cancer for 2026. And I hope you book a reading with me or a personal consultation to ask some questions. Follow me on Instagram and also check my other content. I'm not doing World Cup content. I do gaming content, specifically Pokemon Champions for an example, and you can check that using the links in the link tree down below. As a Terry Cloud Surfer surfing out, I wish you the best thoughts, ideas, feelings, and emotions, and a whole bunch of individuality, creativity, and responsibility as well. Believe in yourself and all possibilities. Keep it cool, keep it healthy.